All right, guys, this is going to be a project you'll be working on for the next couple of weeks, and it's going to count for your final exam grade. So, an executive from BP Co., or British Petroleum Company, recently contacted me. As part of their reconciliation program from the oil spill in the Gulf of Mexico in 2010, they're developing the best possible method to clean up after an oil spill. They want us to help them determine what materials contain the best absorptive properties when it comes to oil. To do this, we'll be running experiments to fulfill their request. There are several steps we'll need to go through for our findings to be accurate and reliable. So here they are. First, we're going to do background research. We need to first learn about what it is we're getting into. We'll investigate our topic and become highly educated on the subject so that we'll be competent scientists. This will result in a 4-page paper, 2-page front and back, 4-page paper with our findings. It will be double spaced, um, and it will be in MLA format. There's a document on Schoology that goes over MLA format with you, so you'll be able to see what it's supposed to look like there. Make sure you take a look at it. So in your research, here are a few guiding questions. And again, these are just suggestions to help get you started. You will think beyond these. There's more to it than just what you see here. These are just kind of get you going. So think of yourself as a teacher, and you're explaining everything you think one might need to know to understand the experiment you're going to perform. Again, this is not a question and answer type of paper. It's a formal research paper, so it needs to be done like one. But these are just some things to get the ball rolling for you to start thinking. So what are some of the properties of oil? If we're going to be looking at how we can absorb oil, we might want to know something about the properties of oil. What various methods are used to clean up oil spills currently? What materials are they using? What are the absorption properties of various absorption-based methods used? So, for example, if they're, well, I know at one point they were using hair, human hair, to help clean up some of the oil. So we could look at some of the absorption properties of hair, since they use that to absorb oil currently, and whatever else they might use. You might want to look at some of the absorption properties of those things. We might also want to know what are the effects of oil spills on an ecosystem. Is it even worth going in and researching this further? So these are just a couple of things to get you started in your thinking. Again, you need to expand on these questions and think of your own further questions. Again, anything you might need to know to fully understand what it is we're doing here. So when you're doing this paper, you will only be using reliable sources. So you can go to places like Google Scholar and come up with scholarly articles. That's a great resource. If you go to websites, you cannot go to any website that ends in .com or Wikipedia. What you can go to is any website that ends in .edu, .org, or .gov. Those are the only three types of websites you can go to. At the end of your paper, you will have a works cited page where you'll put all of the sources you've used, and there will be a minimum of 4 sources. So again, there's a document on Schoology that goes over the formatting of these things. Make sure you check it out. Next, after you do your background research, you will develop a hypothesis. So every scientist develops a hypothesis that states exactly what it is they're testing. This sometimes is in the form of a question, but more commonly is written as a statement. So an example would be, the noise pollution generated by air cannons in the Arctic Ocean disrupts migratory patterns of local cetaceans or resulting in the dislocation of cetaceans during the winter months where they starve, impacting the cetacean population. The cetacean is general the whale family. So in this example of a hypothesis, We can see what it is the person studying is looking for. They're looking at how noise pollution affects cetacean populations. And they gave us a little bit more detail about what exactly they think is happening. So this is their hypothesis in this statement form. That's just an example for you to kind of model your hypothesis after this. So you'll develop a hypothesis after you've become educated doing your background research. You'll turn a copy of this into me on Schoology. But again, that's not due until Monday. Experimental design. Here you'll design every aspect of your experiment. You need to tell me exactly how you're going to test the absorption of various materials. I say organic with a question mark materials, meaning that if you're wanting to test natural resources, things that were once alive at some point in time, those are all going to be organic resources. So if you're using something like a natural sponge to wash your dishes, that's an organic material. So if we wanted to see if a natural sponge could absorb any oil, that might be one of our organic materials we use. Doesn't have to be organic. That's just a suggestion. It would be the most quote-unquote green, though. So beyond this, we need to know what materials you will test. So again, it might be a sponge, might be hair, might be something else that you learn about in your research. We need to know what materials you'll use and what procedure will you follow. So remember, good science shows consistency in the data that's collected. This means each sample needs to have the experiment run on it multiple times. This must include a written step-by-step procedure and a very inclusive materials list. So everything from the lab equipment you'll use, beakers, spoons, water, etc. Just literally anything you might use. So, if you're going to have X amount of water, you need to tell me what are you going to keep that water in. So that's 2 things for your materials list. The 100 milliliters of water or whatever, and the 150 milliliter flask you'll keep the water in. You need to include everything you will use. Your experiment execution is exactly what it sounds like. You're doing your experiment. And then finally, after you've done your experiment, you will come to your conclusion. So you look at what were your findings. According to your research on each of the materials tested, are those results what you expected? What properties of the materials support your hypothesis that you learned about in your background research? Why do you think your hypothesis was not supported if it wasn't? How will your findings influence the future of cleaning up oil spills? Will this be presented, this will be presented in the form of a poster board when it's all said and done. And each of these sections will be included on your poster board. So you'll need to give me a brief background research section. You'll have to tell me about your hypothesis. You'll have to tell me about your experimental design. So you'll tell me how you did your experiment. And then the bulk of it will be telling me the conclusions and presenting the data you collected from your experiment. So this will be on a trifold poster, and we'll have a science department expo, or like a little science fair, on the Friday, May 26th, where you will be presenting these things there. But while I'm gone for the next couple of days, this background research section is where you're going to be working. You're going to be spending your time researching in your groups and writing this background research paper. So you don't have to individually write a paper. As a group, you're turning in one paper with all of your names on it. Again, check Schoology for the proper MLA formatting documents. That'll show you how to do it. And send me an email if you have any questions. Hopefully you don't. Good luck to you.